different phases of being a targeted individual. Um, Most of us start off as non-victims, and up until the point where we've gathered enough knowledge and have a sort of a fair amount of understanding. Um, so, as a non-victim, most people just live their normal life. They go about their daily business with no problems. And unfortunately, I think a lot of them don't understand that this sort of thing exists. This electronic harassment thing does exist. It's important to just be informed, even if it's not happening to you, even if you're still not a victim. Mostly just to try and prevent the massive damage that can happen. It's a system that's designed specifically to sort of take out all your finances, to make you dry and empty and have no money, have no way of supporting yourself. Also, the common trick that they play is they're trying to get the victim to move places, move from apartment to apartment or whatever, change states or provinces. And when you do try and get a lot of help or medical help, it's probably just going to be a misdiagnosis, and you end up spending a lot of money for nothing. Doctors might tell you there's no problem, or they might give you a wrong diagnosis. Um, the whole thing with gang stalking and electronic harassment is that it's very unfair. You only gain experience by going through the thing. So it's only once you get in the hole and you find there's actually no way out that a lot of the things begin to make sense. Also, a lot of the damage is completely irreversible. Once you've lost your job, once you've lost your money and your friends, it becomes nearly impossible to get all of those things back. And also, the perpetrators seem to control the pace. They seem to sort of dictate, they drain, they might sort of cut off all your friends, cut off your entire support system, and isolate you. And then once it's very difficult, they know that you can't get any kind of support. Then they only move you on to the next phase. Okay. So the first level is a newbie, a person who's sort of signed up to this gang stalking program and who's a victim. And most people are completely unaware because perpetrators, again, controlling the pace. They're not going to play all their cards immediately at the same time. Also, what they do is that they do a lot of pre-study beforehand. They study your actions and routines, and they check you out, and you still think life is normal and you're completely unaware of what's going on. And the worst case for a newbie is that you run on for years without knowing what's going on, without knowing that this thing is gang stalking, and or maybe you even believe misinformation. People who say this doesn't exist, the technology isn't there yet. Move on to the next level. Maybe within months, there's bound to be a lot of strange events happening. Things at work, or maybe you might even start experiencing strange things around the house. There's a lot of madness whenever you're in public, and but you can't just put it. It's very difficult to put a name. It's very there's a lot of weird things, but you don't know what to call it, and you keep on bumbling on. And it's a bit of an ironic situation where it's important for the person at level 2 who's having a lot of these suspicions to get the knowledge quicker. Again, just the case of avoiding cash, avoiding losing as much money as possible. I mean, money is the key here. Once you broke, it's very, very difficult, and to try and hold on to the job as much as possible. The trick that they play is that you've got to move a job, you've got to. But your job is your means of making money, and they know very well they're going to make it impossible for you to get the next job. And then you move on to the next level, which is getting the first knowledge after months and months of all of these crazy events. You begin to know the terminology, you begin to know there's such a thing as gang stalking. And at first, the information might be very hard to digest because it's for whatever reason. And it just doesn't seem believable. It just doesn't seem logical. It doesn't, it's very difficult to work out the motive, for one, as to why people would gang stalk you or people would follow you the entire day. But I mean, after some experience, you would soon find out that those people are actually getting paid. It's all a money-making scheme. It's just another way of making profits. The biggest mistake that a person in level 3 can make is to be in denial or disbelief, and again, to remain in this phase for too long. Also because there's a lot of misinformation. There's a lot of information that's deliberately made to keep you in the dark and make you, keep you as uninformed as possible. That's the whole game of misinformation. Fortunately, and I think there are a lot of victims now that sort of progress to the next phase. After lots of experiences, I mean, it's very difficult to still lie to the guy and say, look, you're crazy or whatever. Understanding of the full picture, understanding that this is actually a system. Electronic harassment and gang stalking, organized stalking, it's all a system. You understand almost the A to Z. However, some still believe that this can be reversed, that you can almost somehow lead a normal life. There's still a lot of misinformation out there that it's a microchip or it's a nano implant or it's an RFID chip that gets implanted into your body, and then you can go to surgery. You pay lots of money to remove it, but it's probably not the case. And others believe that you can actually, lodge a lawsuit or create a case and actually think that they can win. And then move on to the next level, which is level five. Typically, after many years or many months of seeing the routine and suffering and seeing the same kind of pain, um, and depending on the level of attacks, some normal, good-hearted people, victims, are sort of tempted to become perpetrators. I mean, they usually get offered better deals and say, look, if you join us, you become a perpetrator, we're not going to attack you, or we're not going to, it's going to be easier on you. But life is still very unpleasant. And as a level five person, as somebody who's very experienced, the goal should be to make it quicker for the next victim to know what's going on. I mean, right now, my guess is that most victims spend minimum, on average, about 2 to 3 years, losing cash, losing friends, lost, running around in circles and not knowing what it is that's going on. And I mean, the simple trick there is just to sit still and know that all the events are orchestrated, all the events are sort of artificial and made, and then also contributing to making this thing stop. A lot of the victims are actually good working people with lots of skills, people who are very intelligent, people who are, they're not criminals, they're educated. A lot of them are, if you were to give them a job, they could be contributing to society. Imagine if all of us were to come together and move on to the next generation of being a TI, not just sobbing and feeling sorry for ourselves, but strategically coming up with ideas of trying to make this whole thing stop. And I think our goal, anybody's goal in level 5 should be to make this thing stop as quickly as possible.